Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Embry. I am the Director of Marketing here at Travel Media Group. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us on our first ever TMG virtual roadshow at our fifth and final stop back on the East Coast in the Mid-Atlantic region. We're very excited to share this presentation with you all. Now, at the end of this event, I will be providing my direct contact information in case you have any follow-up questions with the content that I'm going to be sharing today. You can also use the chat feature located in your toolbar to type any sort of questions or feedback. We'll be responding to those questions personally following the conclusion of the presentation. And also be on the lookout, since today's event will feature an interactive poll. We absolutely would love to hear you and see your participation in it. So let's get started and introduce you to who will be driving this roadshow today. So hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Embry, again, Director of Marketing at Travel Media Group. And with me is DJ Randolph. DJ, welcome to the Roadshow.
Thank you very much. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, awesome. And DJ is Hospitality Solutions Advisor for the Mid-Atlantic area. So maybe some of the hotels have heard DJ's voice or even spoken with him, some of our current hotel partners. We're going to be bringing DJ on at the very end to kind of show us how, to give us some further insights into the area and how we can use this data that we're going to be talking about. So let's jump into it, since we're going to be covering quite a little bit today. And we're going to start with what travelers headed to the Mid-Atlantic region are searching, right? If we know that, that might give us some clues on how to best to capture their attention and hopefully their booking. Next, let's look at the reputation trends for the area. How competitive of a market is Mid-Atlantic, and what do you need to be the most competitive in order to, again, capture that market share that you're looking for in those travelers? And finally, or next, we'll be looking at guest sentiment. So the reviews that are being left online, what are they actually saying, especially in the Mid-Atlantic region? And finally, how can we use some of this reputation and sentiment data and search data to create a effective social strategy in order to inspire and capture bookings for our hotel? So let's jump into it. And for the search trends, really is some great news for hotels in this region. Now, obviously, the Mid-Atlantic region is absolutely enormous. We can't cover every single individual city, but we did look at some of the larger markets, and what we saw were the same patterns and trends, very positive. So the search hotels in Virginia Beach has been increase of 22% year over year. Hotels in Philadelphia, 49% year over year, and hotels in Washington, D.C., a whopping 123% year over year. So obviously this overflows into some of the smaller markets in the region, but this should be really exciting for, call it revenge travel or call it, pinned up demand, but travel is certainly back, and we're seeing that in the search trends. So what are some other things that we saw? Well, first, hotels in downtown Baltimore is up 83%. Now, this isn't just downtown Baltimore. We've done this 5 times, like I mentioned before. In every single search associated with downtown that we've been to, we've seen an increase year over year. 2 reasons. One, we're starting to see that comfort level rise back in travelers, right? 2021, certainly 2020, was all about getting out of these crowded spaces and going out into the suburbs, trying to stay away from crowded places and spaces. This year in 2022, that comfort level is starting to get back, and you're starting to see more and more people return to those metropolitan areas that we've been so accustomed to over the past couple decades. And the second thing is, this really could be the early signs of business travel coming back, which we've missed so tremendously in our industry. We know event centers are downtown, office buildings. So may or may not be, only time will tell, but this could be an early signal that the return of the business travel might be on its way back. Search volume for events in DC this weekend up 49%. Now, this one, it was really interesting based on that last part of the stat, this weekend. So as you can see, travelers are still looking for last minute inspiration and as they're planning ahead, they might also be a last-minute booking for you. So what this does is it magnifies your reputation, your recent reputation and reviews, as well as what's on your social media feed today, because they could be looking on a Tuesday like today for this weekend, and what they're finding there could be the difference between getting that booking or having them book down the road. Pet approved or pet friendly hotels in Virginia Beach up 83% year over year. I love to see this. We traveled to those other 5 markets, and this is the first time that we've seen this pattern and trend in this area. And I really think it has to do with what happened over the summer, right? The big story in the airline industry were the cancellations, the delays, and what a headache it was to actually fly during this time. So what do people do? They went on the road, right? And it obviously, according to this search, they're bringing their furry friends with them. So I thought this was a really interesting stat, and there's a couple creative ways that we can start leveraging this on social media. And we'll also see that people are leaving some reviews about pets as well, whether it's positive or negative. So we'll find that out a little bit later. Hotels near DC. So this is great news for properties or locations on this call that might be outside of these metropolitan areas, right? Up 236%. This trend has to do with the record high ADR that our industry is experiencing, which is absolutely great. But people are going to start looking for alternatives and might be willing to drive a little bit outside of where they actually wanted to stay. So you might have some overflow market share there in order to get a cheaper rate. People are paying more attention to their gas, to the gas pump, and they are in their grocery bills as well. They're certainly doing it with their hotel rates. Could be an opportunity for these hotels near metropolitan areas to capture that market share. And finally, along the same lines with talking about inflation and pricing right now, the search over the last 3 months of free things to do has had a significant increase right now. And this has been a common thread that we've seen in all of our markets as well. So trying to provide things like parks, national parks, hiking trails, things that don't cost a lot of money could inspire travel and focusing less on maybe the expensive attractions that might have brought in guests in the past. So let's talk a little bit about hotels' reputation, right? Especially in this region. So this is a very competitive market. In fact, the market average score is a 4.2. So a lot of positive reviews right now. So at the 50% mark, they're still above a four star. But I will say the biggest red flag and kind of warning sign here is that average review response rate. This means that 4 out of every 10 reviews in the Mid-Atlantic region is going unresponded to. Huge red flag there, and it's a great opportunity for hotels that are responding to their reviews to leverage this as a marketing tool and a way to set expectations for guests to improve their online reputation. That's one of the reasons all of our hotel review response partners 100% review response rate. Now, let's talk to those hotels that just don't want to be average. They want to be in the top 25%. As you can tell, it goes even more competitive. 0.3 more stars, 4.5 stars. You have to be in the top 25. But still, the average review response rate is still about 3 out of every 10 reviews are still going unresponded to. So big opportunity there, but definitely did want to share for those hotels that want to be in the top 25. You're going to need a strategy because I guarantee you these hotels that are here have a real critical focus on this in order to keep them here. So all right, so let's talk about where the reviews are being left, right? We just talked a little bit about what the star ratings were, and to no surprise, about 57% of reviews in the Mid-Atlantic market are coming from either TripAdvisor or Google. Now, luckily for our hotel partners that work with us with their reputation management, these are the 2 reputation sites that we focus on, TripAdvisor and Google. But I will say, if you're not seeing a lot of review flow in those 2 spaces, you're most likely not going to see a lot on the OTAs, which we know have really, really big booking implications. Here's the sentiment. So when those reviews are being left, how many of them are positive versus negative. TripAdvisor, might surprise some, is the most positive place out there. So almost 9 out of 10 reviews that are being left on TripAdvisor are positive. I would tell the hotelier looking at this, if you're not getting good reviews on TripAdvisor, you're most likely not getting reviews on these other places, according to this data for this market today. So let's jump into some of the guest sentiment, right? So I talked about this before. People are leaving reviews. What are they actually saying? This is something that in our Respond and Resolve review response solution, our team of professional writers actually go in and hand tag some of the tags. So the Mid-Atlantic guest sentiment trends, top 3 positive sentiment tags, starts with location, right? So 9 out of 10 times that location is mentioned, it typically has to do with something positive. A great opportunity to share where you're located, the attractions around you. Breakfast. So we've gone to a couple of these markets where breakfast has actually shown up a little bit more negative. And that's because some of these markets, either have had to battle restrictions in the area and had to really change the way that they're doing breakfast, or because of staffing, right? You might not have enough staff to man your breakfast area, or you're still doing the grab and go. So this obviously is something that is not an issue here. So if you're seeing negative reviews when it comes to your breakfast, you're definitely in the minority. And then lastly, we talked about it, the search trends, pets. So a lot of the times when pets are mentioned, it's positive. So hotels in this region doing a fantastic job of setting some expectations when it comes to their pet policy. We've actually got an example to show here in just a minute when it comes to that. Price. So we talked about inflation and the impact that it's making. The number 1 negative sentiment tag in the Mid-Atlantic is circled around price. Right now, hoteliers and staff are having to walk a very fine line to their guest experience. They're paying higher rates than they ever have before. So that means if every single piece of the guest experience is not to their liking, they will certainly let you know and maybe tell other travelers that your hotel might not be worth the price that they're paying. Bathroom, obviously a common trend that we see, and pool. So, very unique. I mean, still saying about 75% of the time it being positive, but maybe expectations just aren't being set. But we'll show you here as we get into the social how sometimes you can turn this negative into a positive. So I love this post here to the left, got a lot of engagement on it, talking about traveling over Labor Day, but most importantly what it did is it talked about the pet policy up front. These are questions that we normally get asked at the front desk, or people are sometimes surprised when we tell them this and they arrive with their pet. So on their social media feed, if we can set that expectation from the beginning, it's going to help you in the long run prevent negative reviews. Pools. So we talked about how this might be a negative effect. This property is a great job of showing you what their pool is, right? So this is obviously an advantage to their hotel versus other, with the pool being right there on the canal. But it's also something that if you weren't expecting this, you definitely want to showcase. So they do a great job of showcasing this on their Facebook. They've also got an Instagram that they share this on, and hopefully on their website as well. Now, breakfast. I love this post here about breakfast because what is one of the main one of the questions we always hear when it comes to our hotel's breakfast, right? When does breakfast end? So instead of putting out a generic post out there, maybe showing what the breakfast looks like, this property decided to switch it up, maybe cut down on those questions and show exactly when their F&B outlet is open, both for breakfast and for dinner. Road trippers. Now this one takes a little bit of a couple steps to connect, but one of the pieces of search data that we looked at was that pet-friendly hotels was up 83% in Virginia Beach. So most of the time when people are traveling with their pets, they're not doing so flying or using the airlines. So these travelers that are coming in are going to be driving. They're going to be road trippers. So this is a great post that is really positioned to those people and could provide value for them. So again, a couple steps there. And then lastly, absolutely love this. It actually exploded on Facebook. I got 114 likes, 11 shares. But this really goes along with that trend of free things to do. They shared, some outdoor activities in a national park located nearby. So there's some really, really great data for the Mid-Atlantic area. But we're going to bring DJ in at this point, who really has conversations on a daily basis with individual hotels, who can share a little bit more about what him and his team of hospitality advisors do for hotels.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. That's really good stuff. You covered a lot there. Thanks for leaving me a little bit. Hey, so one of the things that I definitely want to bring up is a couple of statistics that you may or may not know, but 95% of travelers, they use online reviews to actually make booking decisions. So, I mean, you might as well say 100%. It's right there. And then kind of taking that a step further, 62% of them are likely to book a hotel that responds to the reviews. And I know you went over a little bit of that, but just to kind of give you an idea of, what do I do? Ryan explained, pretty good kind of what we do here at Travel Media Group. But at the same time, when you do, just sit down with me over the phone, however you'd like to do that, we'll go over and I'll show you exactly what a lot of these dashboards look like. The thing is it's nice to know that of course, you know that this needs to be done. We're trying to get future travelers. We want to make sure they're looking and reading these reviews. So it's great to have data, but you also need it organized. You need a way to look at it and view it, and it makes sense, not only for a single hotel or someone that works with two hotels, but then you've got groups that work with several hotels and they work with all these different brands, independents. You got this crazy mix in there, and sometimes you're looking at different things trying to come to one solution. It's pretty cool the way we've got things set up. You actually are able to see all of that, top performers, low performers, touching back on that sentiment information. I hold meetings every month with customers that will go over that sentiment data because it's invaluable to the owners and the general managers of these hotels to get in there and look at it and say, okay, I had a 5-star review, but at the same time, there was something in there that I may not have been made aware of had I just quickly glanced at the numbers of the star ratings of the reviews. So they'll look at these positive things. We'll market towards that on social media and through the review responses. But on the other side of it, we'll look at any of these negative tags, I guess, and go through there, and we'll make adjustments to that. And I've seen it work, and that's what's so awesome about it is it's not just something we talk about. It's actually something that works. You've got basically a two-sided approach. You've got reviews over here with review response, and then on the other side, you've got your social media to handle it at the same time. With that, I appreciate your time. I look forward to meeting with you, and I'm going to let it go right back to Ryan. Thank you. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, DJ. And yes, as she mentioned, every single property, even if we're in the same region, is unique. So that's exactly what DJ and his team do. They get down to the nitty gritty, very granular in what they're suggesting and some of the recommendations that they have. So if you're interested, please, you've got DJ's phone number right there on the screen. Reach out to him. I'm sure he'd love to do this analysis and show you how you can leverage data for your area to capture more market share. So as promised, here is my direct contact information. I want to thank all of you for joining us on this virtual roadshow on our last stop. I want to thank DJ for taking the time, and have a fantastic rest of your day, everyone.